Hey y'all, it's Anime Man. Today I'm going to be reviewing episode 5 of Utau. In this episode, let's just get it out of the way. This episode was lit! Wow! Let me explain why. What I really love about this episode was the emotional impact it had. This was like intense. Like every single scene was, I was at the edge of my seat because what I love about this episode was it had a conflict that had emotional ties to Takia that couldn't just be resolved easily, where in each and every instance Ayumi was committing suicide and he had to travel back in time, travel back in time, travel back in time. And what I love about all these sequences was that Takia can't just rely on the time travel device to fucking bail him out. He also has to rely on the time travel device in his brain in order to solve things. And that's what I like about this episode itself, because we got to finally see more of that mature Takia, and it was such a glorious thing to see. Like, because what I really like how as the episode progressed, and things were getting serious, like when he was talking to Kaori, the reporter woman, he was actually, in instances, he would normally get a look at someone's, a female's certain assets. But you can tell, like, in the situation series, he doesn't do jokes or anything like that. Like, he stares away and he just gets down to business. Business Takia. I think that's what I should call him. And seeing him like that was nice and it was intense. And it really made the episode good, because it showed you more facets of his character. And I also like how in all these sequences where she was committing suicide, Ayumi, I like how it also helped quantify her personality a bit, because it shows off how much she actually loved Takia's father. Because while yes, the Tatayomi stuff was probably what pushed her to want to commit suicide, the whole situation where her missing Takia's father was literally the primary reason. Because even after Takia helped improve the situation by exposing Tatayomi as a fraud, she was almost about to slit her wrist until Takia showed up and stopped her and had to give her a speech in order for her to like believe in him. And you know what? I love those sequences because now we know how much she actually loved the father, and simultaneously now we know why, aside from that, we also know why she was all up for taking care of Takia even after the father passed away, because she loved the father that much. She just couldn't take on the stress anymore. And I like how this also opened the window for some Takia character development, because when he told Ayumi that he's going to do his best to prove her innocent, no matter like which timeline or anything like that, I felt that was a beautiful sequence, because and that right there, that was when Takia mentally he went from being a boy to a fucking man. Hell, he was a man this whole episode, and I fucking loved it. He was a man mentally. And that's what made this episode really, really cool from a story standpoint, because I wasn't bored a single moment, because it was either epic things happening or Takia wisening up. So that's what I thought from a story standpoint. This episode was good. It goes mid-plot progression, because now he resolves the Ayumi situation, and Ayumi is going to want to live on. And I also love how it tells us some of the limitations of the time travel device, because it can only go back a certain amount of time, because there's limitations to that. And that's what I also love about this episode too, because it's like, at the very least, there's a nerf to the time travel abilities. So it can't just be the end-all be-all. He also has to use his intelligence. So that was another cool thing about this episode. Then, aside from those elements from this episode, it also opens the door for the time travel device becoming stronger in the future, because it's still missing a few gemstones too. It opens up that possibility. And what I also like is it shows Kana, because when he tries to travel back in time Takia, it's when they're still at school, and Kana is the only one not reacting, so it makes you wonder, there's gotta be more to her than meets the eye. She can't just be a simple a simple schoolgirl. So that was also another thing that really intrigued me about this episode, aside from all the emotional moments going on. And I also enjoyed the character moment for Takia. To see him now say something with conviction when in regards to he's gonna find a way to prove her innocence was beautiful. And we even get to see some more characterization for Kaori too when she helped out Taki a bit. That was also another nice sequence, showing off that she's got a lot of good qualities to her, personality-wise. And we got to see Ayumi, even though she tries to keep a strong cover on the inside, she's actually really, really emotionally distressed. And I liked it because it showed Ayumi's not the perfect character either. She's got flaws, she's got her trauma. And I like it because it makes the story much more dynamic when you have characters with their pros and cons. It makes them feel realistic. And that's why I felt this episode did well from a character standpoint, because it even ended off with Ayumi, again, regaining the will to live after Takia gave her the talk. So, and then the sequence where he slaps Ayumi because Ayumi was saying shit like Takia wouldn't understand, and Takia did it to calm her down, was fitting. And I was cheering because in that sequence, Takia had to be the man, and he was the man. And I think that's what really made the scene beautiful, to see him step up like that. So that's what I thought did phenomenal from a character standpoint. And I'd say really the only weak point was maybe one sequence in the animation, but everything else from an animation standpoint worked. And there was even a cool framing shot where right before he travels back in time and he was going down an elevator, it shows like this cool perspective shot with like these two mirrors, and it looked pretty fucking cool. So even the animation, the visuals were engaging, art was pretty nice, soundtrack was pretty intense. This was literally the first episode I can say about Yuno where I was like, damn, the music was damn good. Like, don't get me wrong, the music in the series isn't bad, but this is the first one I can legitimately say I was impressed. So, and the voice performances were great as always. And taking all these factors into consideration, I'm going to rate this episode a brand spanking 10 out of 10. Honestly, this was greatness. And I just love this anime and I cannot wait to see where it's going to go. So anyways, guys and gals, these are my thoughts on Yuno episode 5. Comment down your thoughts in the comment section below. Rate the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later if you subscribe for more, because y'all know I'm definitely pumped up for this show. Alright. Thank you all so much for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.